So, welcome along to the next episode of the SAWUK Podcast. Today we're joined by a special guest, Phil Will. Phil's a top bloke who has identified himself as wanting to become one of the Million Miles athletes for Sabre Warrior. I thought, what better way to introduce him to all of you than to get him up on the virtual podcast couch and all three of us just have a good chat and get to know each other. There we go. So, Phil, welcome along, mate. Thanks for coming along this evening and having a chat with us.
Well, firstly, thanks for having me on. I'm really excited. If I'm honest, I'd not heard of Sabre Warrior prior to 3 days ago. It came about as, you know, Tom, you served with my brother Mike, and I like to do charity events, and I always raise the money towards mental health orientated charities. But this year I wanted to do something a bit bigger, and I wanted to do it for more specifically veterans or service personnel. And so I reached out to my brother and I just said, you know, what do you know? Tell me who's good. Tell me whose direction I should look in. And he pointed me in your direction. And here we are.
Fantastic.
So,
no, I know, yeah. Mike. I've got fond memories of Mike running around a PB in Afghan with his body armour, a 25 metre squared block of sand in the desert and doing at least a half marathon, could have been a full marathon.
Sounds a lot like Mike.
Yeah.
I generally do try to just keep up with what he does. He's a much more prolific runner, proficient as well than myself. But, you know, I like.
Is he older or younger?
He's older, 10 years. Well, 9 years. He'll kill me for saying 10. Sorry, 9.
Go with 10.
Yeah. Looks 10 years older.
What branch of the armed forces are you, Phil?
So he was RF2 squadron for, I'd say 8 years. That's a guess, but about 8 years, I think. Tom might know better than I do on that one. And then he moved over, I think he was like on loan, basically. He became a Pathfinder, which, correct me if I'm wrong, but is a derivative of the Army. So he was sort of on loan from the RAF to the Army as a Pathfinder for the next 4 years.
Nice. Yeah, that's I always associated that with the Paras. It's like a branch of the Paras. What about yourself, Phil? Where did you serve?
I'm not in the military, no. Not for lack of trying. 6 applications, but unfortunately I've had asthma my whole life. Although I don't use the inhaler much, the fact that I still have one on prescription because sometimes I need it is a no-go, which is understandable, but yeah, not for lack of trying. So
must have given you some juice and some motivation watching your brother do what he's done. And
yeah, it was a double-sided sword, that one, if I'm honest. It was, yes, motivation. Always looked up to him, massively proud, and always wanted that, as I said, to keep up. As a young lad, he was my hero. Still is, to be fair. Not ashamed to say that. He's a legend, and I look up to the dude. But it was also, it had a bittersweet sort of sting to it, because it was bitter because I was applying before he did. I was applying when I was 17, and it wasn't till I was a bit older that he actually joined up. And he done incredibly well with it, and for that I'm massively proud, and I can't blow enough smoke up his arse, because, you know, as a young lad, we both went to the same school, and the teachers there said the same thing to me that they'd originally said to him. And when I turned up, they looked at me and they went, "You're Gambo's little brother." And it was that look of, well, you're stuffed then, basically, because, you know, he left school with no qualifications and no idea what he was going to do. And then, you know, he ended up in the Pathfinders, which is an elite group of blokes. So, you know, and as is, sorry about that, I have a very large dog.
Yeah, sounds
I didn't expect him to be barking at the door. The door is shut, but sorry, something's upset him, so my apologies there.
It's all right, he's on standby. I've got a Rhodesian Ridgeback, so I know the thing.
Yeah, I've got a Dogue de Bordeaux, French Mastiff, like Turner and Hooch.
Yeah, big
so,
wow.
Yeah, even through 2 doors you can hear the bark. But sorry, I digress. So Mike, Yeah, bittersweet. It was genuinely bittersweet. Bitter because there's a slight bit of envy. I'll happily admit that. But sweet because, I was so glad to see him find his feet, find something he loves, and just progress phenomenally with it.
Nice. So what was tell us a bit about your background. Where did you grow up? Where's home?
In Devon, in Exmouth. So my family... Pardon?
Terrible place to grow up. No, I'm joking. It's lovely.
I couldn't think... I mean, maybe Australia, a couple other places, but I couldn't really think of much better places than Devon to grow up. It's very peaceful. It supplies you with all of the outdoorsiness that I've come to love through childhood and adulthood. Beaches, Dartmoor, it's all on your doorstep. You can't really go wrong, to be honest. But yeah, grew up down here, still down here, bought a house down here, got a partner and a kid down here and some dogs down here. So it's all become very much Devon-based. Mike was here for a bit as well, but obviously he's gone off and done his thing. And then I've progressed through a lot of different jobs, but realised that training and coaching was always what I enjoyed the most, and figured why not turn what I enjoy doing for free into something where I can make money so that I don't actually feel like I'm working when I'm working, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Great way to do it. If you can, you can figure that conundrum out in life, you're pretty much in a good spot.
Yeah, for sure.
So obviously it's a bit about how we've all sort of like come into this little circle, all of us. The Million Miles project, which you've kindly said that you'll put some effort towards. For context for everyone else, it's essentially Sabre Warriors ongoing fundraising effort. We had this big, hairy, audacious idea to, let's run 1 million miles, or let's move 1 million miles back in November 23. And since then, I think actually, Adam, we kicked it off with an attempt to run around the Isle of Wight in a named storm, which was a great idea, by the way. Whose idea was that? But a second attempt, and that's long overdue. But it was just a way for us to raise awareness for what we do and get people out off the couch and moving, because that has a fantastic effect on mental health anyway. But if people chose to do it with others, we're then solving the connection issue as well, and bringing people together to do stuff together outdoors. So the fact that you want to go ahead and put some miles in the kitty for the Million Miles project, thank you. And I said it on the call on Sunday, anything we can do to facilitate and support and help you along your way, pick up the phone and give us a call, mate, because we're around the corner. All right.
Yeah, thank you.
So with that, and also the story that you've got in terms of the distance, why, and your all of that background as to why you've chosen that as well. We're going to sit here and just listen to you go off on one on that, because and then I hope Adam can listen to this for the first time and then get that same punch that I received when you told me on Sunday, mate.
Okay. So I mean, I'll start at the start then, I guess. For me, every year I do some charity events. Last year I did a half marathon on Dartmoor in February, which, much like that Isle of Man, was pretty disgusting. And then I did a 62 miles in a month for another mental health charity for Calm. So each year I like to do something along those lines. One thing I've learned from the events is that short scale events, they don't necessarily have the time to build up the traction and therefore raise the funds that I really want to raise, because I want to raise a lot, because it costs a lot. But the cost is null and void if you're saving a life, So I want to raise as much as I can. So I thought this year I would do something on a larger and more longer time scale. So I've always been a bit of a nerd as far as, Star Wars comic books. And for this year, Lord of the Rings. Watched it. I even made the missus watch the extended ones, which she didn't love, but hey ho, what can you do? It was 9 hours of fun for me. And so this year I sat down and actually looked into the distance that Frodo walked, or sort of, as far as J.R. Tolkien is concerned, what his hypothetical distance would have been. And it turns out that distance is 1,779 miles. And I thought, well, there's a challenge. I love the films. I love the different characters, the roles they play, and the journeys they go on. So why not just do that distance? And that was kind of where the thought process stopped. And I just thought, yeah, cool, I can do that. How long will it take me to do that? Okay, yeah, I guess. I think it works out about just under 35 miles per week if I'd have started on January the 1st. But, late to the game, let's make the challenge a little harder. But yeah, so I just decided that I wanted to travel the distance that Frodo travelled from the Shire to Mount Doom with the ring. And I also like that the kind of the burden he bears is that ring. But I also love the teamwork throughout it. There's a point in the films where Sam, Wise Gamgee, is telling the story of Frodo. And Frodo turns to Sam and says, yeah, but you've forgotten someone, because Frodo wouldn't have got far without Sam. And it's true. For all the heroes that are the main point of the story, like Frodo, actually, he's not the main hero. They all are. And it shows that teamwork and that we need to work together to connect, to be able to get these long journeys done. And that rang through when I first spoke to Tom, and he offered out all that amazing support. And it goes to show, that sort of teamwork thing is what gets us across the line. We can't work on our own, or not to the best of our abilities anyway. We all need a little help. And so, so I just decided that between hikes, runs, and some daily walking, I'm going to travel that 1,779 miles over 2025. Some of it will be simple, easy things, a little walk around Exmouth seafront with a dog. Others will be half marathons, or weekend camping and long walking over the moors or Breckons. And some I've even planned in to sort of do Snowdon and a few other higher peaks to add into those miles, just to raise some money for a charity. Originally, I didn't know which to start with. I just wanted to raise money for a mental health charity that linked in with service personnel. And my aim, my rough ballpark figure, is to hopefully raise about £5,000 over the year. So,
amazing.
Then I reached out to Tom, and now here we are on a chat, discussing it out.
Epic adventure ahead for you then.
Yes, yeah, certainly.
And I love that. I love that you pointed out the element of the hero. It says there's a saying, isn't there, that you can go fast alone, but you go further together. And I think that encapsulates what you just said there. Amazing. Wow. And thank you for doing it for the badge that is Saber Warrior, doing it for the men that are going to sit in that seat and benefit directly from that effort. And it's going to be a heck of a thing, because if we apply the lens of the hero's journey to the meta story of, in the whole of 2025, you're going to go through an entire the full gamut of the hero's journey, having returned. And when you return, you'll be wiser and having experienced so much. So it's amazing. Are we, Tom, planning on tracking the miles, using the website, allocating his profile on the website so everyone can see it and somehow link it to social media? Is that the plan?
Yeah, that's right. So Phil's completed his profile for becoming a Million Miles athlete, which will be on our website. Hit the drop down and you'll see Million Miles athletes. Everyone that's come before you is there as well, okay, with their declaration of the miles that they were going to do, which they've done. And then I'll put that up live soon, okay, with the details that you've already given us. Now, the mechanisms and tracking the miles, that there's a detail that we'll need to iron out. But if I was to lean and ask you that nod question about the way that Bechtel are doing it or another way, I think probably lean towards that Bechtel method.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And I know you use Strava as well, Phil, right?
Yeah, everything. I mean, you'll have to inform me on what Bechtel is. That's news to me. I don't know what that is. But yes, everything I do that adds into the miles will be recorded on Strava.
Gotcha. Then even simpler than that is probably I could drag an API and make it visible on our site. So everything that you do via your watch and your phone, etc., to track their miles, Phil, they'll pop over to us. And there's always the manual option. I'll just go in and just give people updates of your progress, man.
Yeah, cool. I'll obviously keep you updated. You'll have to tell me if it's too much or not enough along the way, but I will try and video. I've got a GoPro and a gimbal, and I should be getting a drone. So I'm going to try and get as much footage along the way as I can, especially I mentioned to Tom that when I did the last challenge, it was nice to try and invite people along, do some of the runs together. If someone turns up and they can't run, I don't care, I'll walk, whatever. But it'd be nice to get some people in, and Tom even mentioned about coming and joining in on some or one of whatever the runs. So yeah, it'd be nice to get the footage of that as well, so we can sort of post and share that with the people following it.
Absolutely.
Don't forget, there's Mount Tady here in Tenerife that you can run up with me. So if you come to Tenerife, we'll be doing that.
Oh, let me refresh my passport. It needs doing.
See, don't leave Devon. Look, I don't blame you.
I do normally, but this year I've spent a lot of money on camping kits, so my main aim is to just camp around the UK, Scotland, Ben Nevis, Snowdon, all of that. So see home whilst I'm here.
Well, there's been a real amplification using this as a mirror, looking at my efforts for running, and you're certainly going to encourage me to get the miles in the legs, Phil, and I hope in doing that and publicising what you're doing, others will follow suit, and you'll have that positive effect in your audience as well.
Well, that is one of my main aims, and I know you brushed over it earlier, Tom, but it's the fact that physical fitness and physical health is one of the biggest impactors on mental health. I mean, I don't know about yourselves, but when you get to the bottom of the barrel, the last thing you want to do is move. But actually, the best thing you can do is move. And it's why when I coach people, it's not about looking good in the mirror. I mean, yes, that can be the end result. But actually, it's largely more about dealing with how you see what you see in the mirror, with what's going on up here. And so I coach physical fitness as a level 4 strength and conditioning coach, but I encompass nutrition, and those are two tools that go to the main issue, which is mental health. So I use those two to improve mental health. And so, yeah, if I can get some more people moving along the way, amazing, because it's only going to help.
Absolutely. I mean, movement is life. That to me, that's stuck in my head. I heard someone said it a few weeks ago, and I just really appreciated it, because, even in the little things, right? If there's an escalator there or there's stairs, use the stairs. But this modern sort of existence that we find ourselves in, majority of us are tempted off the struggle path onto the comfort path. And we think that that's better for us. Ultimately, it leads us towards a very, soft and fragile place, emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, physically. And I'm sure you listen to Joe Rogan as much as most blokes that I know do. I truly believe that if that guy had an accident and became paralyzed, he'd be in trouble in many ways, because he relies so heavily on physical movement. It's kind of like it's like this thing. His demons, he says, his demons come online when he doesn't move, and he has to keep moving, right? And so there's interesting parallel there. But yeah, it's hopefully we can capture then this year a message of, movement is life. And, even if you're physically moving, or if you're moving towards a goal, if you're moving towards a North Star, if you're moving towards a why, then all of that is movement in many ways. So we hope to support you and celebrate you every mile, every step of the way. This is the beginning of your particular hero's journey. And so at the beginning of every hero's journey, to get a bit sort of Joseph Campbell on our audience, there's the ordinary world, the status quo, the comfort zone, the where you find yourself now. And typically, to embark on something scary and audacious like a hero's journey, right, a mission like this, typically there has to be a motivator to get us going. And sometimes, most of the time, actually, it's we're done suffering. Whatever that suffering is that we're experiencing in that moment, right? It's just become intolerable. And so I have to do something about it. That's one motivator. But sometimes it calls us. Sometimes it comes out of who knows what, like ideas and thoughts. Where do they come from? Who knows, right? And every now and then they'll just reach down and they'll pull us. And those are really cool as well. I mean, they're all valid, but these are the things that take us out of our comfort zones, out of our ordinary world, and then begin. The call to adventure comes, whether it's through pain or whether it's through a pull. And then before you cross the threshold, there's the opportunity to go, no, actually, I'm not ready. The refusal of the call. It's like, no, why me? Or I don't think I can do it. It's the flutters, as we call it in Saber Warrior, and the doubt, And so, taking your example, every year, I know you do this as a thing, so it's not exactly alien to you, right? This doing a charity event for you every year. But what is the why, or what is the motivator that's going to propel you to embark on this?
I will answer that. I'd like to just say quickly, I know you said this isn't a new thing, but actually it's not new to do a charity thing, but I do exactly what you just said, which is every year I say I'm going to do a charity event. I think of something that's here. I think, I'll do that. And I'm like, oh, no, can't do that. And then I end up doing something even harder. And sort of, it's like, because the pull, and that's where I'll answer the pull for me, the why is I've lost a friend who was a former service personnel who committed suicide, and it broke my heart. And I wish I'd done more. I didn't, but lessons learned. And I've watched my brother go through some hard times as well. And, that's another reason. And also myself, I put myself in that position when I was younger and I was suicidal. And so I've seen the dark side of low mental health from my own perspective and from that of those close to me. And I just want to do whatever I can to try and prevent it. And that's my why. The pain was seeing those I care about suffer for ways that if we can prevent, we can prevent for a fact. But there's not enough people doing enough about it. And I think for myself, one of the biggest lessons I learned is, I don't know if you're aware, but you'll see a lot online, especially when it comes to World Mental Health Day. Everybody's posting, oh, my inbox is open, give me a call, reach out to me. I don't know if you've experienced it, but when you hit rock bottom, the last thing you will do is reach out. And actually one of the main messages I want to convey is that to the people that are close to that person, to your close friendship group, your circle, don't tell them to reach out to you and then sit back and wait. Be a good enough friend, brother, sister, mother, father, whatever, to know what that person is like and to notice when they change. So if they're not doing what they normally do, notice it. And whereas a lot of people might be like, oh, I haven't heard of that person for ages, they're not talking to me, and get asked about it, instead think why. Why are they not doing that? If that's not the normal then, and then reach out. But don't just say, "Are you all right?" And when they say, "Okay," leave it there. Ring them, pick up the phone, turn up at their house, walk through the front door and put the kettle on. But actually be proactive and do something about it, because I genuinely believe that's the only way we'll change it, is if we are proactive. But there's too much I'll just share a post. I'll just say, "Oh, you're right," by a text. And it's just, to me, not enough. That's the mistake I made with my friend Rich. And it's a mistake I won't ever make again.
There we go. That's a kind of a North Star.
Yeah.
And so in a way, your Frodo, the ring to your Frodo, in this case, is the burden of that lesson.
Yeah.
And you're tasked, and this is why the refusal of the call is such a common thing, because it is a burden. What you're about to do, you're about to burden yourself with the responsibility of carrying this, right? And taking it to the heart of where it was forged, right? To the heart of darkness, right? Because it's what we're talking about here, when we talk about suicide, it's death, right? It's the darkness envelops us. It's the final thing. And so we're talking about mythologically here. Mythology isn't just stories to entertain us. Mythology is a meta truth that envelops human experience at a grand level. Whether you're aware of it or not, we are playing and partaking in story. We are storytelling monkeys. That's how we exist. It's how we express. It's how we communicate. It's how we enact humanity. And so it's big. And the purpose of the hero's journey, to understand its phases, is to understand where you are on your journey, where you're going and what's about to come, so as to be prepared. And it's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be challenging. You're going to have ego deaths, symbolic ego deaths along the way. But my God, that whole journey, you're going to have people watching. You're going to be bearing a light into the darkness as a symbol. And in modern times, that is the lighthouse effect of social media, right? If we use social media for good, is that we can blast out and transmit light. And, in doing so, we'll illuminate the dark recesses of the bullshit that sometimes is social media. The look at me, the virtue signaling, I did a thing, how, all of that nonsense just gets fucking annihilated when somebody decides to go on a true hero's journey in service. Because Frodo doesn't want to do it. This is not for him, ultimately, right? He returns with the bounty that's going to impart the knowledge onto the village for generations to come. If you think of the original story of that, the original version of the story of that, it's Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ burdened himself with the cross, right? He took that on board, all of the sins, including his betrayal of his best friend, right? Didn't blame him, right? He just said, "Forgive them, Father, for they do not know." So he showed compassion in that ultimate place. And you're whispering into that as well by saying, don't get arsy with them. Be curious and compassionate and see it from their perspective. Why are they not reaching out to me? Why have they gone quiet? Right? It's that level of depth and compassion is there. And the ultimate sacrifice is that you are willing to burden yourself and put yourself out there. You're willing to face potential failure, injury, whatever it may be, because it will happen, because it's a hero's journey. There's going to be shit that's going to be thrown at you, undoubtedly. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a hero's journey, right?
Yeah.
And, when you return, we'll get around the fire and we'll tell stories about the grand adventure. But I guarantee along the way, people are going to be activated into their own hero's journey. And that to me is bringing the light. That's what it is. That's what bringing the light is, into the darkness. And so I'm always a bit giddy and a bit geeky when it comes to this sort of stuff. And in this stage, because the anticipation to what's to come is both terrifying and exciting, probably in the same dose. But it's a hell of an adventure. You've got a hell of a compass and a hell of a why and a North Star. That's going to all help, but nobody does it alone, as you said right in the beginning. And so you're about to cross the threshold. When is the figurative threshold crossing moment? When is that first step? When is the first step? going to happen?
I mean, do you mean first step in terms of what's the first recorded run/walk I'm going to do?
Yeah, literally.
The 20th of January.
Okay. And what is that? In the context of what? What is that? A bimble with the dog, or is that?
No, that'll be a run. Probably,
Okay.
I'm probably going to aim somewhere 5 to 10. Nothing major.
Okay.
First, I have to admit, Tom pulled me on this the other day when we spoke. He said, "Oh yeah, I can see you haven't done any running in December," and I was like, "Yeah, don't judge." I suffer with these with cluster headaches, so December, unfortunately, I got written off with running. They've gone now, which means hopefully they'll be gone for a couple of years, and so I'm good to go. But I was going to start a little bit sooner, but I hadn't nailed down the charity, and I was waiting on a reply from Mike, which isn't always the quickest. And then, so I said the 20th. I said I could delay it if Tom needed to get anything in place, but he was happy with the 20th. So 20th will be the first actual, not my first movement of the year, done plenty, but it'll be the first logged, recorded run for the challenge. And I'll be aiming for 5 to 10 miles.
Perfect.
Do you have a time in mind?
As in, how long will it take me to run 5 to 10 miles?
No. Like the minute, hour that you're going to launch, because I'm thinking of a virtual launch point at the same time you are, I will be, and anyone else that's listening can do as well.
Got in mind, no, but that's certainly something we could look at and plan in for sure.
Okay,
make something work for everyone and do that.
Well, epic. And can we get a reverse countdown? As in 1779. Drop it down.
Yeah, I'll be doing that because I will keep track of, and I'll do it in both miles and kilometers for those that don't get miles. I'll do it in both because the kilometer amount is 2863. So I'll do both, and each time I do something, I'll chop off and I'll update where we are at.
Amazing.
Was trying. Amazing. Well, takes an incredible amount of courage what you're setting up to do here, Phil, and in doing it, there's going to be a lot of connection with others. You've certainly made a connection here, and a friendship which I'm really looking forward to growing with you over the coming year and beyond. And what a beautiful chain link for it to find its way to us through Gambo. Thank you.
Yeah, a lot of stuff always seems to come through Gambo in my life. He's like I know we all tread our own path, but on many occasions I feel like we just sort of wander in and out, and it's like, oh look, Gambo's been here, and then I go, that'll be it. I'll go down there a little bit, have a look, see what he saw, and see a bit of his path. Sometimes with him, sometimes without, but yeah, our lives do intertwine quite nicely like that.
Brother.
I did want to ask you guys actually. So I know this call has been largely about myself and what I'm doing, and I'm sure your viewers have already probably heard about your 1,000,000 miles challenge. But do you mind me just asking what made you pick that? Because it's a hell of a number. I mean, I thought 1,779 miles was a lot, but 1,000,000 is pretty big.
Yeah. So we was having a trustee meeting back in November 23, and it was literally the dying seconds of the meeting. We've been on chatting for an hour and a half, however long it was. We was talking and thinking into fundraising ideas and what we could do in the future. Bearing in mind at this point, it was quite early on in the stages of Sabre Warriors in the UK. So real like that genesis starting point of it all. And now and then these little cells in this skull of mine, they just go, say something now. And it just comes out, and out of the blue, I just said, well, let's just do 1,000,000 miles. Let's get a group effort, and we'll do 1,000,000 miles. And I must have said the right words in the right combination, because Adam went, and that was it. The 1,000,000 Miles Project doesn't have to be any elaborate wording other than that. It is literally 1,000,000 miles, and it's going to be a project. That's what we're going to do. But
amazing
in the highly caffeinated states that Adam and I have been in after that initial flag in the sand, it made more sense. It made even more sense. And then, like, well, how do you get behind something where you have a unifying project that everyone in the village can come towards and do? And it wasn't just the ultra athletes that are going to run 1,779 miles. It's your aunt and your uncle that can go for a 3-mile dog walk or 5 miles because they want to push themselves a little bit further, but take their niece and a nephew with them, and families coming together and doing that just 1 mile, but they know that 1 mile is going to do something for the end product. So that it was at like that end of the scale, big and hairy stuff, but also right down here in that family unit piece.
That's nice, all inclusive.
Yeah, it has to be. It has to be. Otherwise, it just doesn't work.
There was such a frequency to that thought that just came in to him, and as he expressed it, I felt it immediately. So there's a transmission that's coming through at a certain frequency, certain vibration to it, and when it hits, and you're like, oh, it's like, I guess, the equivalent of a famous music producer. You know, he gets called in. I can't remember the guy's name, but got scraggly hair, always wears glasses, and he's like this record producer, can't even play an instrument. But what he gets paid millions. All the big artists around the world employ him to essentially hear their tracks before they're finished. And he'll just sit there, he'll hear it, and he'll go, bang, that's a hit. Mm-hmm. Like, he just knows, right? And this is a similar sort of thing in the sense that, you know, we all have that ability to receive that level of information, quality of information. The problem is something that you said earlier, Phil, and I think is important. You know, you said you hear people saying this mental health space, how, you know, they didn't notice anything different, or he was, you know, I should have known better, or I should have whatever. The key thing that's missing there is connection. Mm-hmm. So if you're not connected to that person, if you're not connected to you, if you're not connected to a higher order of good, call that spirituality, call it whatever you want. Yeah. But if you don't have these connections established, of course you're not going to pick it up. Of course you're not going to see the signals, because you're so blinkered in your own world of pain and suffering, and maybe not even that. Maybe just the grind of every day, going to work, picking up the kids, you know, just the rat race, if you will. Whatever it is, if you're not connected to your body because you don't move enough, if you're not connected to, maybe you eat in front of the TV with one hand, and you don't even realize you've just done a massive plate of spaghetti, and then you're comatose, right? Because you're watching TV. You're not connected to the food you're eating. Mm. So connection reverberates at all levels in the human experience. And the crux of all of this, just to say, humans are designed for two things: connection and struggle. We're designed for it. Like, that's our makeup. If we're disconnected, well, we saw it in COVID, didn't we? Isolation. How much did that affect the mental health of not just the elderly, but the generations to come in the young kids? That isolation.
Yeah, hugely, so much so.
Right.
Yeah, it was insane.
So when you know, Tom and I approach our work, you know, endlessly curious and fascinated about the human experience, and we know that suicide is a spiritual problem, not a material one, and so we become endlessly, you know, curious about humans, and I know that humans, when we are disconnected, we suffer. And you know, I think if we could all just take moments throughout the day just to recalibrate, take a breath, connect to your breath, something simple as that. Just do breath, 5 deep breaths. How do you feel now? Just notice it. Don't even have to describe it. How do you feel now? Just notice it. Okay, good. That alone is connection, and it takes practice. And yeah, I know that we're going to be having more conversations like this, in particular as the journey progresses. I'm very, very, very excited. I know I'll be in one of those miles along the way at some point, however that looks, for sure.
Just
and,
one.
Yeah, I could be swimming and he'd running along in the road. I don't know, Yeah, no, we'll definitely do that. And again, just I appreciate you. I'm grateful for you, and thank you for your leadership, for your guts to do it, and can't wait.
And thank you likewise for backing me, because I have to admit, as much as the idea shot to me, and I thought, yeah, great idea, it came with some apprehension and some sort of, is it right? Will it work? Does it sound good? Is it stupid? Am I being silly? I mean, there was some, I wasn't 100% certain. I wasn't 100% confident. There's a lot of things I do where I'm like, yeah, 100% know what I'm doing here. But with these bigger events, there's always that slight eeriness, like you said, almost the rejection of the challenge. And so when I spoke to Gambo and he said, call Tom, I trust my brother with my life, with anything, with everything. Trust him 100%. So when he says, speak to this guy, I know the guy I'm speaking to is mustard. He's worth his salt. And so then when I spoke to Tom and I said, look, I just want to bounce an idea off you. Let me know if you think it's naff or if it's something we could run with. And he came back and he said, do you know what, actually, the way that links to what we do, well happy, it gave me that confidence. So compared to 2 days ago when it was just an idea in my head, having Tom back it and now yourself, Adam, it's filled me with a lot more confidence and even more excitement. I entered that phone call and I was sort of like, oh, and come the end, I was like, I'm mega excited now, majorly ready for this. So yeah, it does. It shows that just that support goes a long way. But I really hope that we can raise some money and B, impact some people. And I know you mentioned that we'll sit around the campfire and tell the story. If I'm honest, I'm not a big. I don't like my name in lights. If I could do it all in a balaclava and no one know who I'd be relatively happy with that, because I know they tell the story of Frodo as time goes on. They keep telling it. But one thing a lot of people forget is that he actually had to go to Valinor afterwards. He went to the land of the Undying because what he dealt with was too much. And for me, it's why I do the events, and typically afterwards I'm like, cool, bye now. See you, put that over there. Because I appreciate you being grateful and thankful, and I'm not knocking that. But I don't in any way want it to be about me. I just want it to be about everyone else that needs the help, getting them moving, getting them talking, getting them there. I think that's key. In a day and age where people buy a sandwich for a homeless man and video themselves giving it to them, that's not what it should be about. For me, it's about everyone else. I'm just an idiot that's going to do some miles.
We'll take it.
Happy deal. Sold.
I can shut my eyes and I can visualize this year and see particular points and waypoints where our paths will cross with others as well, and it's going to grow. And providing everything's done in the right way, with the right intention and the right sentiment behind it, and everyone, you won't even have to say it. People will just see that it's a good thing moving forward, and that's all it is. So, Will, you said Phil, you sent me a link with all of your social media links and all of those bits and pieces, so that we can use that lighthouse to spin and guide people in. So that will be one element that I will do. I will start to move that into our messaging. I dare say we're going to do this a little bit more often and have catch-ups and blister reports and whatnot. Got a great big blister today, but I'm looking forward to that first run that we can do together with the bimble with a gimbal, as it's been called in the past, and just basically that thing and run with me, mate. So thank you ever so much for for what you're about to do, and for the men that you're about to help get through the program. Yeah, that's why we're doing it.
My pleasure.
Definitely.
Thank you for having me, for letting me do it for you guys.
Brilliant. Cut.